In case you've been living under a rock, then you must know that Jurassic World will be in theaters this summer, with another attempt to capture the hearts and minds of audiences for the 6th time since Jurassic Park premiered in the 1990s. Star Wars and the Jurassic World sequel trilogies have followed similar trajectories over the last 6 years. So in today's video, we're going to tell you what their journeys tell us, and are legacy sequels durable? First off, a nostalgic revival is the way to go, but will it work every time? As we know, both the Star Wars and the Jurassic World 2015 remakes were full of nostalgic revivals, and it worked out pretty great for them at the box office. In retrospect, it may not be coincidental that Star Wars The Force Awakens and the Jurassic World came out within 5 months of each other. These, after all, were the twin poles that helped them to coin the term legacy sequel, and both of the movies took brief turns dominating the box office with their debuts on the opening weekends. Jurassic World was one of the first movies to cross 200 million milestones in 3 days when it premiered with $210 million in June 2015, while The Force Awakens was the second, grossing over $248 million until December 2015. More importantly, their ability to revive famous franchises that have been dormant on the big screen for decades or longer would make you think legacy sequels always work in the long term, right? Keep watching this video, and once you reach the end, we're sure your point of view will change. The ability of these movies to really figure out how to crack the nut of remaking cherished classics, respectfully, is what made people love legacy sequels. But how many times can this trick work? Next up, why did the 2015 legacy sequels work, and why can't they work in 2022? As it has been discussed much over the years, each film and the troupe of legacy sequels they inspire is basically a remake of the first movie from its canon. In Jurassic World, we saw a return to Isla Nublar for the first time since the 1993 masterpiece, and this time we saw an even larger and more wonderful park that's fully functional until the dinosaurs break out and start eating humans again. In The Force Awakens, we saw a young hero in the desert taken under the wing of an old mentor to join a galaxy war filled with Imperials, Rebels, Dark Lords, and Death Stars. Both films offered a repackaging of a precious classic for a newer generation, but they do so in a way without infuriating audiences who fondly recall the original. Rather, they serve the nostalgia in a way that the new generation of protagonists fondly look towards the old guard, with all the wonder a moviegoer from the old days would remember from their childhood. The moments that captivated the audience must have been the ones where Daisy Ridley's Rey looks on in awe when Han Solo says, "It's true, all of it." And meanwhile, for Jurassic World, seeing the two children standing in the ruins of the initial Jurassic Park's visitor center, finding the remains of the one-time iconic banner that reads, "When dinosaurs ruled the world," must have secured the deal. The newer audiences were left to dream and wonder like the parents of the new movie's youngest audience members once did. But did this same trick for Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, and the Star Wars Last Jedi? And will it work for the newer sequels set to be out this year? And now, are Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, 2018, and Star Wars The Last Jedi, 2017, a spindle toward evolution? So as one-offs, the Jurassic World and Star Wars innovations were incredibly successful, as were their sequels, but a strange thing transpired when it came to both franchises' second installments. Fans were forced to ask what the real story was after the creators just redid the original. One cannot keep playing the hits indefinitely, right? Jurassic World in particular needed an evolution since the original 1993 movie is the only one universally adored from the early cycle of Jurassic movies. Thus, the direction their franchises took was basically to blow up what audiences were expecting and to go somewhere entirely different. Directed and written by Rian Johnson, The Last Jedi was particularly honed as it resumed the trend of reintroducing loved legacy characters in supporting roles. In this case, Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker and Ford as Han Solo, and then slaying them off. The movie's villain even says, "Let the past fade away. Kill it if you have to." Still, the movie endeavored to deliver a refreshingly original path for Star Wars to walk, one where the new characters build and learn from the lessons of the past, thereby forming new dimensionality to the current universe, and one in which the plot does not repeat itself again and again. Whether a tiny minority amplified by social media or a definite cross-section of Star Wars fandom, the reactions online to the movie were infamously toxic, and were even called misogynistic and racist by a lot of people. And perhaps the most damagingly for Johnson's vision of of a more interesting and challenging Star Wars universe. The so-called evolution only made $1.33 billion, or a little more than half of what The Force Awakens made. In hindsight, Disney directors took that to heart. Meanwhile, Jurassic World's solution to prevent getting in a rut was to literally blow up the island. 2 of the last 4 movies were set on this island, and they even killed most of the dinosaurs from your childhood. Unlike Star Wars, Jurassic still had the same writing team, at least in the script writing stage. And yet, it's worth mentioning that The Fallen Kingdom worked a whole hell of a lot less for reviewers and critics than The Last Jedi. Our own childhood nostalgia was rankled by the sight of the Brachiosaurus in Jurassic Park, the first dinosaur we meet from the original, being slowly roasted to death in what is still an unexplained vicious creative choice. However, Jurassic World: The Fallen Kingdom appears to fall dangerously near a self-parody by the ending, where the movie focuses on a raptor hybrid stalking a kid through a haunted house. Even so, both films share the creative urge to do something different and leave their franchise in a position unlike anything we've ever seen before, one where the Jedi paradigm is damaged, and the newer generation will have to make a new world on their own, and another where dinosaurs are ultimately off the island and now run free in our world. More notably still, both franchises essentially dumped those elements in their threequels. Up next, retreads and regression. When The Last Jedi came to an end, Adam's villainous Kylo Ren had finally stepped out of Darth Vader's shadow. No longer did he wear a fanboyish helmet made in Vader's image, nor was he beholden to the whims and commands of the real greatest evil in the galaxy. A return to Abrams chose to invert all that inside the Rise of Skywalker's first 4 minutes. Audiences saw Emperor Palpatine return from the dead without reason, and Kylo was reduced back to the role of a conflicted lackey in a mask. The Rise of Skywalker addressed every fan grievance and complaint, no matter how ridiculous it was, such as diminishing Vietnamese-American actor Kelly Mary Tran's part to a small cameo after racist incels ridiculed her off Twitter. The outcome was an innocuous yet soulless development that reverted to playing the hits again, and in this case, replicating 1983's Return of the Jedi, and now coming to Jurassic World. Curiously, despite featuring almost the same screenwriters of all 3 Jurassic movies, Jurassic World Dominion does more or less the same thing. In the film's corny opening sequence, we discovered that the new status quo docked during the prior movie has been hand-waved away off-screen, and most of the famous dinosaurs are back in a nature preserve. Surely, except for one silly motorcycle chase, Dominion becomes what every single one of these movies boiled down to. A film where greedy wealthy people plan to exploit these creatures' flops, and then the dinosaurs are then free to eat and chase everyone into the wilderness. It's incredibly lethargic, but also incredibly successful. Up next, how was it received in the box office? More importantly for Universal Pictures, the film debuted to an impressive $140 million opening, down only 4% from Fallen Kingdom's debut. By contrast, and much to Disney's embarrassment, despite all the fan-pleasing reviews, The Rise of Skywalker received a B+ score from moviegoers, down from the Jedi's A, and also ended up becoming the first Skywalker Saga to receive a majority of bad reviews from critics. And while its $180 million opening is much higher than 2 of the Jurassic World movies, it's still down by a painful 20% from The Last Jedi's opening. And now, finally, let's talk about the profits and limits of sequels. Yes, if movies are remade again and again, they drop in the long term. While Fallen Kingdom had a smaller drop from its predecessor, The Last Jedi fell 20% in overall global gross. It apparently strayed too far from the formula for some folks at Universal. For this reason, nearly 4 years later, there is still no new Star Wars in production, while Disney's CEO once told fans that his goal is to have Star Wars in cinemas every year, forever. And that's a wrap for this video. So what are your thoughts on these so-called legacy sequels? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.